Joe Leigh here for Seconds Out on the red carpet. It's fight week. Eubank Jr. versus Conor Benn. Frank Smith's joining me now. How are you?
I'm good, mate. How are you?
Yeah, good. Excited, of course, for this big event on Saturday night. What's it been like in the process? Obviously, it's not always easy to make these kinds of big fights. There was a few stumbling blocks, but all in all, the build-up to this, how's it been?
Yeah, look, it was a lot of work to make this fight happen, but we got there. I think everyone wanted to make it happen. That's why we got there. It took, I don't know, 6-7 weeks of back and forth. But it's a massive event, and look at the size, look at the scale of it. I think by the end of this week, everyone's going to be talking about this.
Where would you rank this in comparison to other fights that you've obviously been involved with in Matchroom?
It's got to be up there with the top, up there with the top fights. We've been lucky enough to do mega events all around the world, but this has really captured the imagination, and definitely up there in the top 5.
Let's start with the trolling, the memes of Chris Eubank Jr. It's made a lot of the fight, a lot of the build-up. That's what a lot of people are talking about. Is he really eating all this food, or is he cutting the camera and then spitting it out?
Don't know. I haven't been there. I think we'll see. For all the talk, everything, he's a professional. He's a professional athlete. He's been in it a long, long time, so he's taking it very seriously. But that, to be fair, the Salt Bay beef yesterday looked very good.
Do you feel like the fight is still going to happen if he doesn't make that weight, and obviously the rehydration clause, etc.?
Look, it's obviously something for Conor and the team. The weight penalty's there for either side to make their decision. So that's something we'll look at. I saw Tony Sims had said if he comes in over, but let's see. Aim is for both guys to make 157, obviously.
Who do you think that weight affects more? Because not a lot of people are actually talking about the fact that Conor Benn's coming up over 2 weight divisions.
Yeah, I mean, you look at Chris in his last fight. I think he weighed in at 159. The fight was at 160, but he weighed in at 159. Conor's coming up 10 pounds. I think for both of them, there's negatives and positives. But they're both going in there doing something they haven't done before. So I think they're going to have some. Each side is going to affect each side in different ways. But I think we're in for a great fight because both of them together. I think Conor's going to come straight out there and go for it. And we all know the way Chris fights. So.
Just feel like he'll still have a great chin, Chris, even though he's coming down, obviously, less weight?
Yeah, he's been, we're talking about, like I say, 2 pound. He's been in there against the likes of George Groves and taken huge shots, we know is a massive puncher at 168. Probably he was in the ring at, 180 that night when he fought him. So he's been in there with big punchers. So I'm sure he'll still be able to take a punch, yes.
Yeah, kind of coming up from welterweight, going to have more power. How do you see it playing out then, Frank?
I'm not getting into the tactics. I'm not getting into who's going to win, who's going to lose, because I can't win either way. So all I know is great fight. Both of them come to fight every time, and you're going to be in for 12 rounds. That's what I do think.
We'll look forward to it. Just quickly on the AJ Fury fight, is that officially off now? Eddie's confirmed it?
Yeah, look, you saw what Eddie said earlier, so I'm not going to just keep repeating what he says because I get in trouble for that. People say I can't speak for myself, but what he said.
What was the last straw then?
He spoke about, look, there's no point going into back and forths of why it didn't happen. Ultimately, we worked very well with George Warren. We were working close. I was speaking to him regularly. I think, we're not going to be demanded to by a man who every day changes his mind but he does it with everything. He's not just talking about this one individual moment. He does it with everything. So, but let's see, maybe in the future it happens.
Of course, last question for you, Frank. What would you assume is next for AJ? Is it going to be a world tour then?
I think ultimately AJ, I think the key is get back in there, get a win under his belt and keep going. He still wants the biggest fights. He's always shown throughout his career he wants the biggest fights, and there's so many out there to be made. So, I think we're going to work on that plan now. We're speaking to the team later in the week and go from there.
Thanks, Frank. Appreciate that.